The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Granted, this film is not going to appeal to people who have never been fans of any games featuring the titular brothers. But given the fact that these filmmakers were tasked with making a movie that caters to a fan base that spans 4 decades and thus have a myriad of tastes and expectations, they did a pretty good job. In fact, a slightly better job than I was expecting. The voice cast was the subject of much controversy, and I thought that for the most part it was actually spot on. A couple of characters were horribly miscast in my opinion, but in particular Jack Black as Bowser and Charlie Day as Luigi shine as perfectly encapsulating the spirit of the characters. Platforming elements from the games were very efficiently worked into the action sequences, and some of them were quite thrilling. This is easily Illumination's most visually stunning film, and a massive step up from every one of their other films since the first Despicable Me. As for the plot, it's just the plot of every Mario game. And for the most part, that's all it needs to be. Every beat plays out almost exactly like you'd expect it to, with a couple subversions pleasantly thrown in there. The messiest parts of the movie, if I'm going to get critical, are the dialogue, which is often quite stupid, and the characters. They just try to deal with too many of them, and although 4 or 5 characters are strongly introduced with background and desires, almost none of these introductions actually amount to a payoff, and even when there is a payoff, it's haphazardly thrown together for a rushed ending. Although I think 85 to 90 minutes is actually the perfect length for an animated film normally, this one would have benefited from an extra 10 to 20 minutes to flesh out these points a bit more. We move so quickly from location to location that there's never any time to breathe or get invested. But that's my adult perspective. I had a pretty breezy, fun, and heartwarming time, though I would have liked more meat on the script. My theater was packed, and probably 75% young children, and they all seemed to have the time of their lives. Your kids will probably love it, and you will probably more than tolerate it. First off, this movie is for kids and fans of Nintendo and the Mario franchise. I still think an adult who isn't a fan could still enjoy it, but this movie is so full of fan service that it will have you smiling the whole time. The voice acting I was skeptical about, but they all work and work well too. Jack Black is the star here. I love how they kept the story simple like all of the games. Truly felt like a video game on screen. This movie felt like a beautifully animated amusement park ride. The audio in the movie was amazing too. The sounds and the score with reimagined iconic music was perfect. Some of the songs in the movie felt unnecessary, but they worked. I think they should have bumped the runtime to 105 to 120 minimum. 90 minutes felt too short as it went by quickly. I haven't had this much wholesome fun at the movies in a long time. If you're a fan, you have to see it. After meeting Chris Pratt at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, I'm very amazed by how remarkable Chris played Mario for the first time. I remember playing Mario Kart Double Dash on GameCube 20 years ago with my sister during Christmas Day, and I absolutely loved the game. Universal and Nintendo did a great job making this movie for kids and adults who played the video game from the 80s, 90s, 2000s to now. The Mario movie was absolutely awesome and very creative from the video game. Chris was absolutely hilarious as Mario. Jack Black as the Bowser was the best for the film. His voice was a mixture of Vader, which I find so outstanding. Chris, who voiced Mario, did a fantastic job. He used the character's voice very carefully. The sounds were just like the video game. And I think that was absolutely awesome. The story taking place in New York to the Mushroom Kingdom is brilliant. Princess Peach was the best part of the movie. She had a good way of showing the browser she will not marry a turtle. And the Toad was the best part of the movie. The rest of the characters, including Donkey Kong voiced by Seth Rogen, were so awesome. I hope in the next Mario movie Yoshi finds Mario and Luigi and becomes their pet. I am someone who is not swayed by critics or Rotten Tomatoes scores. I didn't even really have any expectations going into this movie. As someone who grew up playing Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, etc., I was really just going to see this movie based on nostalgia, and it does deliver on nostalgia. The visuals are stunning, and while everyone has their reservations about Chris Pratt, the voice acting is perfect, except for one elderly character. While many have said this movie moves quickly or too fast, I would say it has great pacing and never leaves you bored. While it is not a perfect film, it leaves little to be desired. It is everything you want from an animated Super Mario movie. This is a movie that feels like a love letter to all the Nintendo fans out there, even if they don't necessarily play Mario anymore. The film delivers a fun and enjoyable experience for viewers by faithfully adapting every aspect of the game into the movie, including the Mario Kart and Donkey Kong franchises. The movie is packed with non-stop action and fast-paced storytelling, leaving little room for some of the more significant elements that fans might have wanted to see. It may not be able to fulfill every fan's wishes, but it's understandable and sets up for a sequel, as there is a post-credits scene. But for general audiences who are not familiar with Mario enough, this might be a movie that is difficult to understand. There may be questions like, why does it have to be like this? Why do it this way? Why is the world so strange? This is because the story hardly explains in detail for us to know how the world is. Even though the story is simple and has nothing much. But if you don't think too much, it's an easy and enjoyable movie to watch, with the lovable characters in the style of the works from the studio that made Despicable Me. I think for what this movie sets out to do, Super Mario Bros. Movie pretty much ticks the boxes of an entertaining, reference fan service heavy movie. A lot of the jokes are basic, sure, but it's just impressive that there is some competency to a video game movie. Sometimes simple and straightforward is the best way to go. Not high art or anything, but it ticks off almost everything for what Mario should be at least. Voice acting wasn't as bad as I thought, and Jack Black was the highlight as expected. Yeah, not gonna win any big awards, but judge it for what it is, and yeah, by video game movie standards it's one of the best ones easily if you ask me. 6.5/10